What is the next topic? Is the website hacking. Website hacking. Previously, I had explained you what is the front end and back end. Do you remember? Previously, I had explained you regarding the what? Front end and back end. Front end and a back end. Front end and a back end. So what are the things are there in the front end? What are the things are there in front end? ఏ ఉంటాయి ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్లో? ఏ ఉంటాయి ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్? ఎస్, జావాస్క్రిప్ట్. What are the front end? Front end technologies. I had explained you. Got only two responses only. Only got two responses only. Remaining, what happened to him? Maybe you are a zoology student. Maybe you are a BCom student. But I had explained you. What are the front end technologies? What are the front end technologies? HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, WordPress, all these are what? What are the back end technology? MySQL, SQL, Oracle, MongoDB, MariaDB, all these are known as what? Back end technology. Okay, back end technology. Yes, very good, Reddy Tulsi. What does mean that whatever the data we are storing, okay, suppose I created a flipkart.com. Here I opened a Flipkart. That I opened a Flipkart website. The website you are seeing or you watching is known as what? Front end, which is made of the front end, HTML, CSS and JavaScript. But data is there where the data stores? In the database server. Where the data stores? Server. Where your data is stored? In the database server. What is the data means? When I open I want to purchase a mobile phone, the mobile phone image, mobile phone details are stored in the where? In the data. In the database. Okay? Understood? Got it? So this database is what? MySQL, SQL and SQL Server Oracle, MongoDB and MariaDB. Okay? Understood? So backend is what? SQL. Backend is what? SQL. Next thing is there. What does mean SQL? What does mean SQL? SQL stand for Structure Query Language. What is that? Query. Query means question. Query ante endi? Question. Is a which language? Database language. SQL is which language? Language used to manage databases to perform operations like to create, update, read, delete on the database. Database, which database is there where your data store. How will you manage the database? The language used by the database to manage the database in the SQL. How will you manage? By using the SQL. Understood? So, ఏ లాంగ్వేజ్ మాట్లాడుతుంది database? SQL. Like Python, Java, like .NET, like the multiple C#, like Ruby, the multiple languages are there. Same thing here, SQL also a language. Okay, that is but they are the object-oriented procedure languages. They are the object-oriented procedure language. The languages are used for to create the application. But this language is the database language. The database language is what? Which one? SQL. Understood? SQL is used by the whom? Database administrators, as well as the developers. To organize your data properly, where the data is stored. Suppose I create a website. Suppose I created YouTube.com website. I just open the YouTube page. There are multiple page showing that multiple YouTube videos. When you click on this particular YouTube video, the video is stored in where? Database. Where the video stores? Where it is stored? It is stored in the database. This is maintained and managed by the database administrator and developers as well. To organize data properly. Web application interact with the database server in the form of the queries. Mean that I told you that this is the front end. This is what? Front end. This is the front end. And this is the back end. What is the back end? Database. Who will do the queries? Data ni or this, who will fetch the data and who will take the data is nothing but a application server. What is that? Okay. If you see this, can you see the difference between this website and this website? Okay, understood. So, this is the difference between Sakshi and the difference between YouTube. When you open Sakshi, the same page will be displayed to you, or other page is displayed? I am asking you a question. When you open a Sakshi.com website, the same page will be same page can to you, or different page you can see. You can see the same page or different page. Same page or different page. When you open a Sakshi.com, the same page, the page I had opened the same page or different page to you? Same page. Understood or not? I ask you a question. I opened a Sakshi.com website. Then, so the same page is open to you or different web page? Okay. Okay, Rani, Chaitanya Kumar Marg. I asked you a question that when I open the Sakshi.com, the same page to you, this week, 5 days, upcoming 5 days, Friday or Saturday I will wind up. I told you that already 70-80% is completed. Okay? Okay. I asked a question that when I open a Sakshi.com, నేను Sakshi.com అనే వెబ్సైట్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తే మీరు కూడా ఓపెన్ చేస్తే సేమ్ పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుందా లేక డిఫరెంట్ పేజ్ అవుతుందా? అంటే మీరు చూసే Sakshi.com పేజ్ నేను చూసే వెబ్ పేజ్ వేరేగా ఉంటుందా సేమ్గా ఉంటుందా? వినిపిస్తుందా? వినిపిస్తుందా లేదా? రే ఆన్సర్ అడగ చెప్పరు. మీరు Sakshi.com వెబ్సైట్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తే సేమ్ వస్తుందా డిఫరెంట్ వస్తుందా? నేను ఓపెన్ చేశాను, మీరు ఓపెన్ చేశారు, సేమ్ వస్తుందా వేరేగా వస్తుందా? ఎస్. ఏం చేస్తారా భయ్ మీరు అందరూ? కాలేజీలో ఉండరా? సేమ్ పేజ్. మరి when you open YouTube, same page? Not same page. You will get a same page. YouTube, when you open a YouTube, you will get a same page or different page? This page is different or same? How will you get the same page YouTube for you? యూట్యూబ్కి వేరే పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుందా సేమ్ పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుందా? వేరే పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుందండి. ఎలా ఓపెన్ అవుతుంది? ఇది నా పేజ్, ఇది నేను చూస్తున్న వీడియోస్, ఇది సేమ్ పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుందా? చూడండి, ఇలాంటి ఇవే ఉంటాయా వేరేగా ఉంటుందా? మనిషికి మారుతుంది లేదా? మీకెందుకు మీకు చెప్పి వేస్ట్. When you open a Facebook.com, when you open a YouTube.com, when you open a Instagram.com, same page or different page? Different page. Face కాదండి, పేజ్ అండి. పేజ్ ఫేస్ అని టైప్ ఎందుకు చేస్తుంటారు? ఐ డోంట్ నో. పేజ్, వెబ్ పేజ్, ఫేస్ కాదు, పేజ్. డిఫరెంట్ పేజ్. అది ఎలా క్రియేట్ చేస్తుంది? హౌ ఇట్ ఈస్ క్రియేటెడ్? Because of this web application is running. There is an application is there. That application is there according to your preferences, according to your history, according to location. The web application is nothing but which is created with a Java, Python, .NET, Node.js. This web application create the web page. Who will create the web page? Web application. This web application creates the web page. How it creates? From the database, it takes the data and creates its page. Who will create the page? Application will create the page. When you open Instagram, the page for you and me and other person are different. When you open enadu.net, when you open your college website, it will be the same page. Okay? So the page which is not changed in the static website. The page which is different from one person to other person is the dynamic website. It is also another web application. It is another web application. Okay? Here in between, see this, in between we have a front end and back end. We have a application server is there. The application server is nothing but it's Java, Python, Node.js. Example. Whenever user wants to access the data, suppose user wants to data, this application server queries to the database, take the data from the database, makes a customized page. Makes a customized page, not face. Customized page will be displayed on the front end. Who will create this page? Application will create the page. Who will create this page? Previously, static website is created by the normal programmer, that normal website like HTML. This one also used by HTML, JSS one, but this web page is generated by the whom? Web application. So that does mean that everything, data is stored in the database. Data is stored in the database. Your photos, your videos, your text, everything is stored in where? Database. Here in this class, what we're going to do, we're going to take care of the database. If you take the database, your control. If you take control of the database, then what happens? You can do anything. Because the website or web application data is stored in where? In the backend. In the backend. When you opened a website, when you open an Aadhaar website, you just downloaded Aadhaar. Then this Aadhaar card, your Aadhaar ID, everything is stored in where? Database. In the database. If you compromise, or if you control the database, then what happens? Everything will be there, you can manage. Mean that everything, the data, where we store the data? In the database server. If you compromise or if you take control of the database, everything you can steal, everything, data can be steal. Maybe the database can be having username, password, database can contain the credit card information, database can be having a phone number, everything, sensitive information also there. We can extract all that information from the database, and also we can modify the database also. Understood? So what is the SQL? Structure query language. Here SQL queries are, does anybody knows SQL? Because some of the students are BSc students are there. Yes. Is there any, మీ ఎవరైనా నేర్చుకున్నారు SQL? BSc కంప్యూటర్స్ లేరా? ఉండారా లేరా? అందరు బీకామేనా? BSc సైన్సేనా? Okay, you don't respond. What are the list of the database services? MySQL, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, MongoDB, SQLite, Microsoft Access. Another thing is DB2 Express 3. Okay. So what is a database? Database is a collection of information. Database is a, suppose I had created a student name, student ID, student which year they studying, which branch, in Excel format or in the Word format or Notepad. That is collection of the data. That is the collection of data is known as the database. Suppose Flipkart is there, Flipkart users, all they're having a order list, Flipkart, and data is there. Database is collection of the information. In organized fashion, rows and columns and tables. How will the database is stored? How the database is stored? How the database is stored? If the data is stored in the like tables, like a understood, like a tables. So database is stored in the form of the tables, rows and the columns, rows and the column. Okay, rows and column. So this is the table. These are the rows. దీని ఏమంటారు, అడ్డంగా ఉండేదని ఏమంటారు, రోస్. సో నిలువుగా ఉండేదని ఏమంటారు, కాలమ్స్ అంటారు. హౌ ద డేటా ఈజ్ స్టోర్డ్ హియర్, హియర్ ది సీరియల్ నెంబర్, దట్ సీరియల్ నెంబర్, ఎంప్లాయీ నేమ్, ఎంప్లాయీ ఐడి, దట్ ఎంప్లాయీ ఐడి, salary, designation, what is that, designation. Serial number 1, name is Ramu, name is Ramu. Serial number 2, Sham. Okay, here employee ID is 1, employee ID is 2, salary is 1000 rupees, salary is 2000 rupees, designation is like engineer, this is the junior engineer. Understood? All the data is stored in the form of the tables. Tables are contained the rows and columns. Understood? BSc botany. ఎందుకులా కానివ్వండి ఇవన్నీ ఎందుకు, మీకు ఎస్క్యూఎల్ ఎవరైనా చదివారని అడిగాను. సార్ తెలియలేదు, చదవలేదు సార్ అంటే లేదని చెప్పాడు, అంతే కదా. ఎవరిని BA BCom వాళ్ళు కూడా చదువుతారు కదా, దానికి ఏం సంబంధం లేదు. నేర్చుకోవాలి ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంటే 10th క్లాస్ కూడా నేర్చుకుంటాడు. నేను అది అడగట్లేదు, మీకు SQL తెలుసా లేదని అడిగాను. ఒక్కడ కూడా తెలియదు కదా, వదిలేయండి. SQL అంటే ఏంది, స్ట్రక్చర్ క్వరీ లాంగ్వేజ్, స్ట్రక్చర్ క్వరీ లాంగ్వేజ్. ఆల్ ద డేటా ఈజ్ స్టోర్డ్ ఇన్ ద ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ ద database. So database example is nothing but a tables. How we create the SQL in the form of the table. Table contain the rows and columns. శేషు మీకు తెలుసండి SQL లో? శేషు మీకు తెలుసా టేబుల్? SQL తెలుసా శేషు? తెలుసా తెలీదా? ఓకే. సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద డేటాబేస్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్? సాఫ్ట్వేర్స్ ఆర్ MySQL, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, MongoDB, SQLite, Microsoft Access and DB2 Express. So database I had explained. What is the relation between the web server and database? Now I had explained you. Just now I explained you. So whatever the web server holds the website pages. Then the web page, there is a one mobile is there. When I click on this mobile link, what happens? The mobile link, mobile image, mobile some information, all are stored in the database server or database server. The web server makes a request to the database server, and what are the required information which is stored in the database, So from the database server it try. Who will try? Web server will try. Understood? So web server and database. A server is a software that continuously respond to the client. Teacher and a trainee is there. Whenever trainee needs any training request, then trainer respond. And the trainer what? Respond. Same thing, whenever any service you need to access, the service request will send to the server. Server is nothing but a computer. Big computer having more RAM, more processor, more hard disk. Understood? So a server is a software that runs continuously, responds to request to the sent by the clients. Communication between a client and server, happens using the specific protocol. Previous class also I had explained how the communication possible with the help of HTTP and HTTPS. How the web application will send the request. I just open here. How the request is opening here? See this. How the HTTPS? When I type this one, the request will send the HTTPS request to the which website? Which web server? Sakshi web server. How the request sends? By using HTTP and HTTP. Any website or web application, how it works? How it works? See this in web application. WhatsApp also works with a HTTPS. I open here. Here how the request will go to the HTTP or HTTPS. Got it? Understood? Next thing. Okay. Understood? A server running web application. A server running web application including 3 components like a web server. The web server primarily responds to which request? Sent by the clients. Who will send the request? Here I am sending the request. Which request? The request will go to the web server. My client will request, I need this web page or content. The request will go to the web server. Go to the web server. And the web server responds whatever the things needed by the like image, text or video asking the browser. The images or videos or text are displayed on the client browser. Client browser. Okay, or client of web application. Understood? Whereas just now I just told you that what is the application server, I just not explain you also. What is the application server, what is meant by web server, what is meant by database server. Web application server are HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Database server are MySQL, SQL and MongoDB or MariaDB. Whereas application server are Java, Python, Node.js. Understood? Data is stored in the database and the web pages are written by HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Understood? And the application using created by the Java, Python, Node.js, .NET, any language. That is known as what? Application server. What is the application server? Handles the request to create the dynamic page. Just now I had explained you what is the dynamic web pages. What is the dynamic web pages? It will change from one person to other person according to preferences, according to request from the user. Understood? The application server process, application server process the user request to generate the HTML for the end user. Who will create the HTML page here? Application server. According to user preferences, according to user data, according to user location, there are multiple parameters. Take care. It will create a dynamic web page like Instagram page for you and me. That is known as what? Application server. Application, instead of serving static HTML, suppose they create a web page, that is a basic page, static page. Okay, instead of creating a static HTML page stored on the disk, the application server runs on the physical server, machine where the web server is running. It will create the physical machine, one physical computer there where web server is running. This application server will create a pages. Which pages? Dynamic web pages. Created by the whom? Application server. Okay, understood? Next, what is the database server which hosts the database application? Like JDBC and ODBC, like a JDBC and ODBC. There is a one JDBC and ODBC is there. You don't know that. JDBC and ODBC. By using JDBC and ODBC, we'll make a connection from the front end to the back end. Front end to the. How you connect? By using the JDBC and ODBC. By using the JDBC and ODBC, we can connect to the database to the other computer programs. Most database applications respond to query language. So what does SQL use as? Query language. What is that? Query means question. I am just asking a query. Query means question or nothing but a getting answer from you. Next, query language convert the submitted query. Query language convert the submitted query. Server readable form executed to try. Okay. The relationship between web server and database server are: web server uses the application server. Web server uses the application server. We retrieve data from the database. And host the data. And host the data with the help of the web server application. Okay. What does application server do? Retrieve the data from the database. From where it takes the data? From the application server. Web server take the data from the application server and host the data with the help of the web server. So web server works as a front end and database server works as a what? Web servers works as what? Front end. Whereas database servers works as a back end to provide the data to the web server. Okay, understood. Next thing is that we are going to know the SQL injection. SQL injection. So next thing we are going to do, why you are learning here, we are going to do the website hacking. What is SQL injection? All database written in the form of SQL. Just now I would explain you. Observe this image, everyone. Observe this image, everyone. SQL injection attack. What is that?
SQL injection attack.
సారీ 2 minutes వెయిట్ చేసిన. దీని ఏమంటా, డేటాని ఏమైనా ఎలా ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేస్తాం? వెబ్సైట్లో ఉన్న డేటాని మనం యాక్సెస్ చేయాలంటే వెబ్ అప్లికేషన్ ఏం చేస్తుంది? SQL క్యూరీస్ని యూజ్ చేసుకుంటుంది. ఏం చేసుకుంది? ఇక్కడ చూడండి, ఇది వచ్చి సర్వర్, దీంట్లో ఏముంది? డేటాబేస్ ఉంది. ఇస్ దర్ హౌ ద డేటా SQL వర్క్స్? How the SQL works? This is the web server. This is the web server. The web server extract the data from the database. The web server take the data from the database. How will you take the data? By using the SQL queries. What it? By using the SQL queries. What is that SQL queries means? By using the SQL language to extract or to access the data, the web server uses the which language? SQL. Which language? SQL. SQL stands for the structure query language. By using the SQL, it extract by writing the SQL queries, by executing the SQL queries, it will extract the data from the database. Here, what is the SQL injection attack? What is the SQL injection attack? This is the database server. It is having a database. Hacker identifies the vulnerable SQL driven website. First, hacker identifies the vulnerable website. So how will you identify? I told previously we had done the vulnerability assessment. During the vulnerability assessment, after creating the vulnerability assessment shows the vulnerable website, whether the website having a vulnerable SQL injection links are there or not. If the SQL injection having a links are there, then if the vulnerability is there, this vulnerability assessment shows this SQL injection vulnerable website. By doing the vulnerability assessment, we can find that whether the website is vulnerable or not. Got it? If you find that website is vulnerable, generally then how the data will be extracted? By sending the SQL queries, to the database server. What does hacker do? Hacker inject the malicious queries. What is that?
Malicious query.
To the database. If the website is vulnerable, understood? If the website is vulnerable, then if this website having username password is there. Suppose this website is when I want to access the facebook.com, first I need to enter into the website. When I want to access in the facebook.com, first I want to enter the username and password. When I open this page, this website having a vulnerability. This website having what? Vulnerability. Then what happens? The hacker injects the malicious query to the database. There is a vulnerability is there in the database. Because of the vulnerability, it will respond to the malicious SQL query. If there is no vulnerability, the database won't respond. Understand or not? Here, hacker identified the vulnerable SQL driven website, inject the malicious query for the input. Here in the username and password field, he will inject the what? Malicious SQL query. This malicious SQL query is sent to the
Database.
and it will respond because the vulnerability is there. The vulnerability is there, it will respond. Then hacker grant access. To view and alter the record potential access the database server. The website having a SQL injection vulnerability, then the hacker send the malicious SQL queries. These malicious SQL queries will send to the database server, and this database server responds to the malicious SQL query because the vulnerable database server is vulnerable. Then respond and reveal the all information, reveal the Got it or not? Then hacker get his grant to access and alter means change the records or potentially access the database administrator. Potentially access the database administrator. అర్థమైందా? If anybody not understand, then please ask me. మీరు వింటే కదా సార్ మేము చెప్పడానికి అంటావా? అంతే కదా, మేంటే కదా సార్ మాకు అర్థమైతే కదా సార్ అంటారు. అర్థమైందా? వాట్ ఈస్ శేషు, వాట్ డస్ మీ ఎస్క్యూఎల్ ఇంజెక్షన్? ఆర్ యు దేర్? మీరు కూడా నిద్రపోతుంటారా? వాట్ డస్ మీన్ బై ఎస్క్యూఎల్ ఇంజెక్షన్? హౌ ద హ్యాకర్? ఆర్ యు దేర్? వినిపిస్తుందా, వినిపించట్లేదా? నోబడీ ఈజ్ రెస్పాండింగ్. అది మినిమం వినిపిస్తోందా బాబు? శేషు వినిపిస్తోందా లేదా? What is my SQL injection attack? Hacker will send the malicious SQL queries. Malicious query to database because the website is vulnerable. When the website is vulnerable, this database will respond to the malicious SQL queries. Unintentionally or intentionally, it will reveal the all information to the hacker. Got it? Understood or not? Not understood. అర్థమైందా? అర్థం కాలేదా? ఏం చేస్తుంది? వెబ్సైట్లో ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ ఉంటుంది, బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ ఉంటుంది. దర్ ఇస్ ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ ఇస్ దేర్, బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ దేర్. ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ కంటే ఇస్ ద website page. Front end is the nothing but website page. Back end is the all website data is stored. All website data is stored in where? Back end. The hacker will send malicious queries to the database server. If the database server is malicious, is having a vulnerability, it responds to the malicious query, then it reveals the information. Mean that, what does it mean that? Sorry. In the website, there is a field called username and password. That username and password. Without username password, you can log in into the website. Without username password, because I don't know the username password to log into the Facebook or to log in into to access the Facebook, I need username password. Whenever I type the username and password here in the username and password field, the query will send to the database. Query will send to the username is password stayed in the database. This database server verifies and make sure that it log in. Which one? The user will log in. But I don't know the username password. I want to hack a website. I want to take control of the website. Then what I do here? I need to send malicious queries. I need to fill the username and password field. I need to fill the malicious queries. Malicious query. Instead of entering the username and password, without knowing the username and password, I just fill the malicious queries. Malicious queries. Got it? Then what happens? Without username and password, the website will respond, the database server will respond, and without username and password, you are going to log in. That is known as the what? SQL injection attack. SQL injection attack. Without username and password, I can bypass the username and password, I can log in. If the website is vulnerable, doesn't mean that Facebook is vulnerable. Facebook is not a vulnerable. Facebook is not a vulnerable. There are lakhs of crores of websites having this vulnerability. Doesn't mean that Facebook, Instagram doesn't have mean that other websites having this vulnerability. Those websites having a vulnerability. Then what happens? So it will respond. And without username and password, login. Understood? Okay. బాబు శేషు నువ్వు ఉండవా ఎక్కడైనా వెళ్ళిపోయావా? వాయిస్ కట్ అవుతుందా? వినిపించట్లేదు మీకు? వాయిస్ అందరికి వినిపించట్లేదా? మీకే వినిపించట్లేదా? ఎవ్రీవన్ గెట్టింగ్ మై వాయిస్ ప్రాపర్లీ ఆర్ నాట్ గెట్టింగ్ ప్రాపర్లీ? అందరికి వినిపించట్లేదా? నాదొకటే వినిపించట్లేదు, మీరు ఒక్కడికి వినిపించట్లేదా? ఓకే. ఏంది ఇది మలిషియస్ క్వీరీ అంటే? ఏంది మలిషియస్ క్వీరీ పంపిస్తుంది? ఇప్పుడు నేను చూపిస్తాను చూడండి. we're going to how the bypass. SQL injection are 3 types. What is that? How many types of SQL injection attacks are there?
3 times.
One is the authentication bypass attack. First one is the authentication bypass attack. Second one is the error based SQL injection. Error based.
SQL injection.
Third one is the blind SQL injection. Third one is the blind SQL injection. Blind SQL injection. What is the authentication bypass attack? The attacker uses the technique to bypass the
User authentication.
without username and password. Without username and password, tries to log into the
Web application.
web administrative privileges. So what are the malicious queries are there? What are the malicious queries? There are the malicious queries are there. What are the malicious queries are there? What are the malicious queries are there? Authentication bypass. What are the malicious queries? 1R1 is equal to 1. 1R is equal to 1. Okay, 1R equal to 1. Or 1 is equal to 1. Okay, or 1 is equal to these type of vulnerability. When they use these queries. What is that? They use these queries. What it? By using these queries, he will bypass these are the queries. By using these queries, he will bypass the login. Okay. Here, previous first class in the first class footprinting, I told you that how to know the vulnerable links. Remember? If you forgot, Google Docs, you remember? Do you remember Google Docs? Google Docs are nothing but advanced operator. By using the Google Docs, we can it will reveal the sensitive information. I am going to use a Google Doc to find the vulnerable website pages. Here there are multiple things are there. This is the one. What are these Google Docs having all this admin panel. So what is the Google Doc here? In URL, admin means shows the admin pages. Here show the admin pages. Show the login page. Show the admin. There are multiple Google Docs are there. Show the login page of the website. So here I just take this one. Okay. Go to the Google. Types this doc. When I type this doc, what happens here? It shows the login pages.
Login page.
So I click on this login page. It asking for the username and password. Asking for the. So instead of entering the bypass attack, we are going to use the malicious SQL query. So I just copy this malicious SQL query. I don't enter any username password. Just paste here and paste here. Then click on login. Okay, I'll use this one. Anyone now, you can try anyone. This malicious query. Then now login. See this. Now login. So now login aయిందా లేదా? See this login. Understood? It bypassed the username and password or not? There are millions of websites. We can bypass the what? username and password. Okay, we'll go for another website. Go for the another website. Here there is a website is there called a Laksha. There is username password is there. Again, I just paste here the query, and log in. Now, this is the website. This is the one website like Data Pro Learning Institute. Now here I can change everything. This is the dashboard. View the course. You can change everything. I just logged in without username and password. The username and password are bypassed by using the malicious query, by using these queries. Understood? Understood or not? Understood? What I had done? ఏం చేశాను నేను? You observed, Seshu? What happened? I open a website. That is a vulnerable website. Okay, any website. Without username password, can I log in? If the website has a vulnerability, instead of entering the username password, I will add I will run the one malicious query. When this malicious query runs, then it makes to log in without username password. That is known as what? Authentication bypass attack. What is that? Authentication. The attacker uses the technique to bypass the user authentication without preventing the tries to log into the like that. You can check by using this authentication bypass attack. You can bypass thousands of websites. What is that? Thousands of websites. So for this one, what we need to do? We need to have a what? So have a which one? Google Doc. Go to the Google Doc. Type the Google Doc here. Paste here. Google search. Show the admin pages. This will also happen. I don't do see because if you upload in the YouTube, what happens? The channel get deleted and the video also get deleted. So I just go to the admin panel here and enter the what are the things that to bypass the queries are there. You can use any one of the query. I'll send you this one. అర్థమైందా అర్థం కాలేదా? ఏం చేశాను? ఇంకా అవ్వలేదు. ఇంకా రేపు ఇంకా ఉంది. ఇది కొంచెం పెద్ద చాప్టర్. ఇంకా అవ్వలేదు ఇది. అర్థమైందా అర్థం కాలేదా? ఎవరికి అర్థం కాలేదు చెప్పండి. పంపించినా పంపకపోయినా మీకు ఫరక్ పడదు, ఎందుకంటే మీరు ఎలాగ చదవరుతుంది. కానీ నేను పంపించాలి కదా, నాకు పంపించాలి. బావా ఫీజులు ఆ మ్యాపింగ్ చేసుకోండి, లేదంటే మీకు మళ్ళీ డిగ్రీ సర్టిఫికేట్ రాదు, గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. మ్యాండేటరీ తెలుసు కదా.